Okay, so in this session, I thought I should explain subnetting based on octet boundary using a /16 network address as an example. So I'll switch the screen very soon, and then I'll demonstrate how you can use subnetting on particularly on a /16 or /8. The demonstration I'll do here is based on /16. If you're working with the TED octet, okay, you will notice the last video I uploaded this week, yes, sometime this week, was based on /24. So we were working on the last octet. So we're now going to go back a bit, and we will work on the TED octet. Okay, so we will work on both the TED and the last octet. Okay, so again, do notice that this is still working with boundary, okay, octet boundaries. And in the next video, I will demonstrate the VLSM, variable length subnet masking. Okay, this is where there's a difference now. We have fixed length subnetting, and then you have variable length. Okay, so with VLSM, with fixed subnetting, you end up with the same number of hosts for every subnet. Okay, that's fixed subnetting. So far, what we've been doing in the working with the octet boundaries, we've been ending up with the same number of hosts for every single subnet we've created. With VLSM, you're going to basically subnet any smaller subnets further depending on the number of hosts. So you can have variable lengths, variable number of hosts for every subnet. You're not necessarily having the same number of hosts in every subnet. Okay, so for this particular session, what I'm going to demonstrate is to show you subnetting based on octet boundary using /16 network address. Okay, so again, we're going to work with the TED and the 4th octet. Okay, so I hope you can see this. We have a network address 172.168.0.0, okay, with a subnet mask of /16. Now do notice that that's the default subnet mask. Okay, that's the default subnet mask. Okay, so we're trying to, let's say we want to take the default subnet mask and we want say 50 subnets. We want to create 50 subnets, okay, out of that 172.168.0.0. Now remember that this is where we draw our boundary. Okay, so /16 will mean that you have a subnet mask of 255.255.0.0. okay, and what this means now is that we don't touch the first octet, we don't touch the second octet, and we start working with the third octet, 245.678, and the last octet. So this is what we're going to work with. Okay, so we draw our boundary here again, and we want to come up with 50 subnets. Okay, so remember, we're going to start borrowing from here, making our way across. Okay, we're trying to find the number of subnets, so we start borrow from the left, making our way to the right. Okay, so if I were to take 1, remember 2 raised to the power 1, that's not enough. Okay, 2 raised to the power 2, still not enough. So if I borrow 1 and I borrow 2, these are for subnets. Okay, I'm borrowing, turning those zeros into ones. Okay, 2 will not be enough. Okay, think 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 would be enough. 2 raised to the power 6 is equal to 64. Okay, so 64. If we go 7, we're going to go beyond 128, which is not what we want. We want 50. So with the 6 bits, if we borrow 6 bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then the rest is zeros, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so if we borrow 6 bits from the third octet, that will give us 2 raised to the power 6 is 64, and we need only 50, so we end up with 14 extra. Okay, so that's what we need. Okay, we can borrow 6 bits. Okay, so now that we borrowed 6 bits, let's see how this is going to work out, and we'll put down our subnet mask, our network address, our broadcast address, and then our usable host in between. Remember the magic number. We first have to find out what our network increment is, and then we'll calculate what the broadcast address is. Now be careful, because we are now working in the third octet. Okay, so if we do this, if you go ahead and do this, you will notice we have that place value of this 0 is 1, this will be 2, and this is our magic number. We are interested in this value. This is going to be 4. So our network count number will be 4 dot. Now I put dot because we still have this octet here. All of this is 0, so dot 0. Okay, 4.0. That's our network increment. What this means is we're going to add 4.0 to every network to find the preceding network. Okay, the next subnet, that is. So we'll start with 172.160.0. We'll add 4.0. We'll add 4.0 as we try to find the next subnets. So that's our first number we are interested in, network increment. The next number we need to find out is what's our broadcast count number. Okay, so notice that if that is 4, that means these 2 here, if you add their place values, there'll be 3 dot, all of these zeros will add up to 255. Okay, so that's our broadcast count number. Okay, that's our broadcast count number. Okay, I hope you can see this clearly. Okay, so we have our network increment plus our broadcast count number now that we found it. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with 172.160.0 and find the first, second, third, fourth, fifth network. Okay, so our beginning network subnet, that is 172.160.0. So we begin off by putting net, and that will be our first network, 172.160.0. Okay, we have our usable host range. In between and at the end we will have the broadcast address. Okay, we'll have the broadcast at the end. Okay, so this is known as our 0 network. Okay, then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 networks. Okay, so we start with the 0 network. Let's find out our first subnet. Okay, out of that 16.0.0. Now remember, our network increment is 4.0. So we're going to be adding 4.0 to 0.0. Okay, so we have 0 plus 4 is 4. 0 plus 0 is 0. So that's our next network, 172.16.4.0. Okay, let's find the next subnet, 172.16. I'm just too tired of writing 172.16.4 plus 4. Okay, remember 4.0 is our network increment. So we add that to every preceding subnet to find the next subnet. Okay, so we add 4.0 to 4.0, we end up with 8.0, and then we go 8 plus 4 dot 12.0. It's 0, 1, 2, 3. It's a third, fourth one. 12 plus 4, 16.0, and we have 20.0. Okay, 172, 172.16, 172.16. Okay, so these are our networks. We can go all the way until we get to the last network. Okay, we want to know what's the address for the 64th network, but we'll come to that. Let's just continue and find the broadcast, and then later what's in between becomes our usable host. Okay, so let me take you back to the broadcast count number. Okay, so remember our network increment, we use it to find the subnets. Broadcast count number, we use it to find the last address, okay, the broadcast address for each subnet, which is in this case 3.255. Okay, so I think you know by now what we're going to do. We're going to add 3 to 4, okay, third octet to third octet, fourth octet to fourth octet. Okay, so we'll add 3 to this value, and we'll add 255 to this value to give us the broadcast for the 0 network. So this is going to be 172.16.0 plus 3 is 3. 0 plus 255 is 255. Okay, and I think you should see now. You see, by this time we hit 3.255. This resets back to 0, and this becomes 4. So that's the next network now. Okay, so to find the broadcast for the next network, we add 4 to 3, and we add 0 to 255. Okay, so we keep doing that until we find the broadcast addresses for the rest of the subnets. Okay, so you keep on doing that. Okay, so 4, that will be 172.16.4 plus 3, that will give me 7.255, and notice that's how this one turns into 8. Okay, and that will mean that for the 8.0 network, the broadcast will be 8 plus 3, which is going to be 11.255. Okay, for the next network, 12.0, 12 plus 3 and 0 plus 255, we end up with 15.255. For the next subnet, 16.0, 16 plus 3 should give us 19. 0 plus 255 will give us 255. 20 plus 3 will give us 172.16.23.255, and it goes on. Okay, so I think you get the idea here. We have 172.16.0.1 all the way up to 3.254. Okay, so that will be our usable range for the first subnet. So that means you're going to assign 172.16.0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 until you get to 3.254, and your broadcast will be 3.255, and that's the first subnet. And then you go down to the next subnet, next subnet, next subnet, and it goes on and on. So let's find what's the an easy way to find what's the network address for the sixth subnet. Sorry, not the sixth subnet, the 64th subnet. Remember, we saw here earlier on that we borrowed 6 bits. So 2 raised to the power 6 is 64 subnets, and we only need 50. Okay, so we can write this all the way down to the 50th subnet. Okay, all the way down to the 50th subnet, but it's just going to take up a lot of time. So what if you are given a question, what's the 50th subnet network address, usable range, and broadcast? How do we find it? Well, one way is to look at the number here. See, I started with 0. If you look at 1, notice that 1, you multiply it with the network increment number. 4 by 1 gives you 1. Okay. If you go 4 times 2, it gives you 8. And then 4 times 3, 12. Okay. 4 4s, 16. So now you get the idea. To find the network for the 50th, find the network address for the 50th subnet, we can go 4 by 50, okay, which will give us 200. So we now know that 50th subnet will be 172.16.200.0, okay, .0. All right. And how about the broadcast for the 50th subnet? Well, you know that the broadcast increment is 3.255. So you add 200. So you go 172.16.200 plus 3 gives you 203. Dot 0 plus 255 gives you 255. Okay? So to find the 64th subnet, you should know what to do. 64 by 64 times 4 will give you the network address or the subnet address for the 64th subnet. Okay, so that's basically what you need to what you can do when you're trying to find out network addresses or subnet addresses, and you're doing subnetting based on octet boundary using a /16 network address. Okay.